Alright, so here is part 2 of the model railroad signaling computer tutorial, and in this section I'm going to try to focus a little bit more on the basics of CATs and how you can set up a panel on it. So basically you need to navigate to your JMRI directory where you put the CATs files, and if you did not copy the shortcuts out of the release 2037. I know I forgot to mention that, but if you didn't do that, it's as easy as going to the batch file and hitting create shortcut. It'll say put it on desktop, and there you go. And then you can change the icon for it or rename it to whatever you want. That way you don't have to navigate to this directory every time to open it. But what we're going to do is we're going to go down to Windows 7 Designer, and we're going to open that. Alright, right away you're going to notice that a few things look kind of weird. Obviously, dispatcher panel has to have kind of a few more spaces than this. So if you hit Control Y, that adds columns. If you hit Control E, no, not Control E, what is it? Control R. If you hit Control R, it adds rows. So what you're going to want to do is add enough rows and columns to where it takes away the white spaces in between each row and column. So you can just see here, I'm just holding Control and hitting R. You can see it fills up the screen there. And you're just going to keep doing this until that's gone, like that. And then you're going to do the same thing for the columns. And only do it enough to where it fills up your screen. Alright, there we go. Excuse me. So now we've got the panel to where we can add things. You can see the cells look normal sized here. And basically now there's a few things you're going to want to go ahead and disable, in my opinion at least. If you go under the Appearance tab at the top, you're going to see there's 3 things that come checked by default: Direction Arrow, Compressed Screen, and Automatic Wrapping. You can go ahead and turn off Compressed Screen and Automatic Wrapping. Basically what these two do is Compressed Screen will automatically shrink the screen if it thinks it needs to resize it, which it does a terrible job at. And Automatic Wrapping makes it to where you can basically lay out, if you want to have like multiple levels, like one part of your layout panel on top of the other part, instead of manually drawing it on top of the other, you just draw it on a straight line, and then CATS will automatically put whatever it thinks should be up top or below or whatever. I hate that. I like being able to design what I want to design and see how it's going to look, and then go and do it, or go and see what it looks like on the program. So turn those 2 off, leave Direction Arrow on, and I guess I'll just go through what some of the things are in the tabs in the top. So again, you can see here, you can manually insert rows by clicking here. If you want to delete columns or delete rows, you have to do those one by one. So you can see here, just deleted a couple things. Yeah, if you go here under devices, you can see here's how you put in signal templates, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on. Not really sure what decoder chain is, but I think you can just basically almost like daisy chain multiple decoders together so that they respond the same. You have your JMRI Devices tab, which I'm not exactly sure what this does either, but you don't need to use it to get a panel to work.
All right, so real quick, I'm just going to go and insert a little thing here. To get the computer to recognize the hardware, you actually do need to use those JMRI devices. So what you do, say I have a Digitrax system, you go in there and select Digitrax BDL168 and Digitrax SE8C. And then if you have other manufacturer hardware, then you just select that. And that's what gets the software to recognize the hardware. And so it actually is really important to get your system to work, because if you don't check those boxes, nothing's going to happen. You can have all the panel programmed, but ultimately nothing's going to happen unless you get the software to recognize the hardware.
Under Appearance, you have colors. You can set default colors for, say, when you don't have a route line on CTC, does the signal show up as white? Does it show up as red? Whatever. The block occupied, out of service, track authorities, if the signal's dark, whatever. The territory is dark, I mean. You can also change the font. So if you want to put different names on the panel, you can add new fonts. You can change the default fonts. You can rename them. You can change font size, the emphasis on the font, whatever. You'll also see you can change the line width here. You can change the grid size, which I don't really recommend messing with. You can, pretty much set it yourself. You can set the occupancy to bounce, which I also recommend don't doing here. You can do that within JMRI itself, which I will explain later on. And there's just a few other things in here that you can mess with. You can lock turnout decoders, so basically where like people can't mess with it on the layout from their throttles and things like that. You can add, here's how you add names. This is how you add tracks, and Control T is how you add tracks. Control E is how you specify blocks and whatnot. You can add stations, and you can even add pictures in there. So as far as the actual making of the panel goes, you really only need to worry about laying track, defining blocks, and defining signals. And as long as you have those things down, you can get the panel working. And of course, names and stations and pictures just fancy it up a little bit. So go ahead and get started here. To lay a piece of track, you just hit Control T. You can select whatever orientation you wish the track to be in. Let's see where we're at, 5 minutes. You can select whatever orientation you wish the track to show up as. So horizontal, you can select the speed of the track. So say I want this to be a slow route. You can go ahead and select slow. It'll lay a piece of track. To copy track, you hit Control C, and you can paste it by hitting Control V. To copy multiple pieces of track, you can go ahead and lay a few more here. You click the first block you want to select, hold down Shift, click where you want to end at. You can hit, you can copy that or whatever. If you want to select across multiple rows and multiple columns, you can select a block, hold Shift, and click the end block you want to go to, and it'll select all the way over there. Notice you do need to hold Shift, although sometimes it will work without holding Shift, but I found it's foolproof if you hold Shift, so that would be that. You can cut track, you can cut detail or names, you can cut pictures, but you can't paste them back in for some reason. Control X is the command for that. And that's pretty much it as far as laying basic track. If you want to lay a turnout, if you select a block that already has a piece of track in it, you can see you can still select other pieces of track. So if you select, say, an upper slash here, and accept it, you lay a turnout. The only problem with the turnout is that you've got to define the switch points. So we can go ahead and do that. Let's lay a few more pieces of track here. To define switch points, you hit Control E. It's the same command if you're going to specify track ends, so if you want to make a block or something like that. So you can go to define switch points, and it's going to pop up this menu, and you can select which route is the normal route. So you say, for example, we want normal to be straight. So we can just select right, click normal route, and then these two boxes right here, you're going to select LT if you have your decoders programmed in for turnouts, and then you're going to set these to close. And then same thing for top, select LT, LT, throw, and then don't check normal route because our right is our normal route, and you'll hit accept. And that'll define a turnout. If you want to make a block, say for example this turnout needs to be in a block by itself. Here we go. Go ahead and make a block edge here. So it's going to say, if you hit Control E, it's going to bring up the track ends menu again. So if you hit, let's see, right block boundary. Okay, we want it to be a block boundary. You can go ahead and click that. If you go to define block, it's going to come up with this menu where you can set whether or not the block has a name, the station name. You can select the discipline for the block. So say we want to have it CTC. Let's name it test. And you can have it where the block actually doesn't show up, but that's if you want to like trick the system. Sometimes there's ways you can make signals do certain things if you put in imaginary blocks, for example. And then down here you select your sensor name. So these will be LS and LS, and you enter in the address, and I think occupied is close and unoccupied is throw, but I'm not 100% sure. And then we'll just hit accept, and it'll make a block there. And you can do the same thing over here. Let's go ahead and paste in a couple more tracks. Hit Control E. We want the right to be right to be a block boundary. Or no, left actually. And you can define block and do the same thing. And you'll do the same thing for both tracks here. And there you go, you got a block. You can see they show up gray because we don't actually have any kind of sensors entered in for them. To add signals, basically you go to Devices, Add Signal Template. You'll name a template, select the number of signal heads, is it a lamp or a semaphore, create aspects, and then you can select the aspects for what routes are supposed to be what. So say for example the protected route is normal, so that means that we're going to be going straight through this turnout. The next speed is normal, which is at the top. It'll show green. Say for example the protected route is medium, which would be the diverging route. You can have medium, and say the next route is a slow route. You can have it do something like, you know, show flashing yellow, show flashing green, you know, whatever. That's how you set that up. You just make a signal template like that. What I'll go ahead and do here is I'll open up a legit panel so that we can see what signal templates are supposed to look like and how they work with the tracks. So here we've got the current panel on Josh's layout. But anyways, here we are looking at NS Modeler 24's current layout panel. This is one that's been redesigned about a week and a half ago, and it's been optimized to fit my screen. And as you can see here, if we line up the ends of the B and C over here, if it wasn't for the scroll bar, this would fit, you know, pretty much perfectly onto the screen here. You can see there's nothing else over on this side. But in this panel, you can see examples of just about everything. Here we've got pictures. And one thing I need to tell you about pictures, and this is really anything in general, when you're inserting a picture, always position where you want the picture to go by its uppermost left-hand corner. This is where CATS defaults to putting anything that you paste in, anything that you insert. That's where it's going to put it. So as you can see down here, here's the uppermost left-hand corner of the -9 picture. If you've seen a picture of the latest panel, here's where it says NS Asheville District. That's the top of the N, so on and so forth. So that's how this works. So say for example, I want to cut out a giant section of track right here. You know, I don't like this. I want it gone. Okay, if I cut this out, as long as I keep this box where I want it to go as far as relative to there, so if I just drop it straight down and paste it there, you can see the track's still going to line up. That's because it's looking at this top left hand corner. So no matter where you select the layout from, even if I select it over here or put the first box on the right hand side and go all the way over here and select, if I cut it and I paste it back in the same place, it always goes by that uppermost left hand box. So that's pretty important. You need to know that so that when you're trying to, you know, move things around the layout panel, you don't end up messing anything up, because if you paste something in a spot where something already exists, you will mess it up. So that's that. Signaling. Okay, signal templates. You can see here we have several signal templates entered in. I recommend doing several signal templates for just about any kind of signal you have on the layout. This will come in handy if you end up changing things on the layout and you end up having one signal that you want to use the same template for is something else, but you want to have one aspect showed differently. One way you can do this is after you make signal templates, if you go to edit one and you rename it and hit accept, it actually copies it and then saves it as the new name. So that's one way to do it. You can just make a bunch of them. You can see here we have several that are designated by the number of lights over the number of lights. So this is like a single red over a 3 light signal, and here we've got a 3 light over 3 light over 2 light. But basically, if you want to define signals, all you got to do is go on a block end here, and you're going to look here. You see the right's a block boundary, and so protecting the boundary to the left, you're going to go ahead and hit define signal. And if you select panel, which you can deselect as you can see here, basically what this controls is whether or not the signal actually shows up on the panel. Now the only way that you would not want the signal to show up on the panel is if it's an intermediate signal or something that's just, you know, completely logic controlled, no dispatcher input at all. And these are typically intermediates. Really ABS signaling you can do this way, but you know, intermediates are really ABS. APB signaling would be this way, but yeah, you don't want to hide dispatcher controlled signals because then you can't control them. So you just select this box here, and then you select where you want it to go in the box. You can see it's in the upper right hand corner, which is really the left. It's tricky the way CATS does things. So just think of right and left as kind of reversed, and it's facing left, even though it's really facing to the right, but that's okay. And again, this is the facing direction, and then you can select the signal template that you want to use for it. So this is a 3/3/2. If you've seen the newest signal bridge he's put in, it's an old Southern cantilever with dual 3/3/2s at the west end of the yard at Russell. And once you go into a signal template and you edit it and end up defining the signal aspects, you have to go in there and do something with the signal aspects before it'll let you click this, but you can click details. And it brings up the menu that allows you to program in what decoder addresses control what lights on what signal heads. So as you can see here, you've got 3 tabs, head 0, head 1, and head 2. So this is top, head 1 is middle, and head 2 is bottom. And signaling in JMRI is controlled by turnouts. I think it's this way with every system. I'm not 100% sure, at least Digitrax does it, but JMRI will interpret them as decoder addresses for turnouts. So as you can see here, green and red share the same address, and if the turnout is quote-unquote thrown or closed, that determines whether or not the color shows up green or red. So green is close and red is throw. And then yellow and flashing yellow share the same thing. As you can see here, we don't have flashing yellow set up for this because you don't need it for this signal. Here we do. For whatever reason, I went through here kind of hastily. I might have accidentally missed one of the other ones and just set it up differently. But as you can see, green and red share the same turnout address, and then yellow and flashing yellow share the same one. So basically, you've got to go through manually, select decoder addresses, and you've got to just start throwing the turnouts and just seeing which ones control which lights on which signal heads. Make a table, write it down, whatever you got to do. Then you just plug it into this table here in CATS, and if you do everything right, it'll work. So that's that. As far as editing the actual templates themselves go, if we go here and we look at the 3/3/2, you can see we've got a lot of aspects that you got to define. So say our normal, the protected route is normal, the next speed is normal. So here we've got normal, which would be going straight through the crossover, the next speed being normal. You got nothing to worry about as far as any restrictions on the speeds go, so you're just going to have a green. Say we're going straight through the crossover, so we're normal, and then our next speed is going to be medium, which really can't happen here. That would denote a approach diverging signal because medium would mean that you're going to be crossing over, so that would show you a yellow over green. And if the next route is slow, you're going to get a flashing yellow, so that's like your approach restricting type aspect. And then you can go and do this. If the protected route is medium, that means you're crossing over. And you can do the same thing. And then down here, this is the box that you have to get to control the signal showing restricting if you're going into the yard. So you can just set the thing to red over yellow, and that'll work. Oh, and also if you model like BNSF or UP or one of these other railroads that uses approach lighting, which means the signal is dark until the train comes up on it, or something is like lined in the opposite direction, approach lighting will do that. So you can model your western roads realistically if that's your thing. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. There's not much else to it. Again, crossovers and whatnot are controlled. Like you have to have crossovers and turnouts as their separate blocks for them to work correctly. Otherwise, you'll be seeing a few issues here and there. One thing I do want to do before I end this video is show why you want to have JMRI control a few things. So if we go ahead and open up the CATS program here, ignore the like million error messages that are about to pop up in your face, and also pay attention to what I just clicked on the NS Asheville district, although I clicked it very fast. So the sensor debounce I was talking earlier, the reason why you want to avoid that within CATS itself is because you can control the inactive debounce and the active debounce, and those differ in that active is the delay between when a train enters a block and when CATS interprets it as actually being occupied. It will give you a delay so that you have a little bit more realism there. The inactive one basically prevents if you have a car that doesn't trip the block for whatever reason, you can have like 5 to 10 seconds of delay before it will actually show unoccupied, so it helps to keep things realistic. So you can go to your JMRI preferences. This is only available in the latest beta version, I believe. But if you go into here and you go into startup, you can have it include a script, or a file, I mean. So you can see I have it loading this ns Asheville district.xml file. And basically all I'm using that for is so if you go under tables and sensors, you can see the debounce information here. So I have this set default to 1000 milliseconds active and 5000 inactive. So 1 second and 5 seconds. And you can have it to where it automatically will do that every time you start JMRI. So it opens that with the CATS panel, just makes things easier to use. And again, using CATS in coordination with JMRI gives you a real powerful set of programs at your fingertips that you can pretty much control anything from your layout if you wish. So I guess that about covers it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope I was clear enough for you. And I hope to hear from some of you guys next time. So thanks for watching.